Okay, we are now out of closed session and moving on to action item 4.2, preliminary prioritizing repairs, maintenance, and reconstruction of existing boardwalk. Heather, are you leading exercise on this?
I am ready to lead us through this via Alexa. So I'll do the talking, she'll do the walking. So what we're trying to achieve today is obviously a list of our priorities. Where we intend to go from there is that I'll then take the list and I'm going to throw it into a bit of a strategic plan document. And then I want to tie estimated dollar amounts to that so that we can have that robust plan, both capital and strategic, as Jan indicated. So that's kind of the larger goal. One of the things that I want to avoid today is something called halo bias or the halo effect. So what that is that in a room such as this, where we have people from different walks of places in the community, oftentimes you might have, when we're doing a sticky note activity to prioritize things, you might have people in the room who have an implied, sense of power, such as Councillor Stashik as a member of council. Then you've got people who have that higher level of knowledge, for example, Chad and Hans, who've been working with the Boardwalk for many, many moons. So that's how this activity today is designed. It's designed to eliminate that and take away that bias from how people are going to interact and prioritize their specific sections. So the first thing that I've asked Alexa to do today is hand you out a sticky note with a number on it. That number is going to be your presentation number. So Kevin and Doug, you guys will get a number as soon as she's done here. And what that is the order in which we're going to present. We're going to present from the highest number to the lowest number. The rest of the committee is completely at random, with Councillor Stashik, Hans, and Chad going last. So each person will present their 3 to 5 priorities and can briefly speak to why they've prioritized those. We are not allowing debate at this time. That will come later. So you're just to listen, open-minded, try and, consider what other people are saying and why they've prioritized those items. And then you'll get a chance to speak to your turn, and then we'll go through a second activity where we actually prioritize that list. So for Kevin and Doug, everybody else in the room is going to have Alexa's generating the list for them, and it's going to be stuck up on the wall. So you guys might want to jot down the things that everybody else is saying, because we'll have to have your guys' voting happen a little bit different. So at this point, Alexa, what numbers do we have for Kevin and Doug?
So Heather, sorry, before we move on, I think Jan has a question.
Yeah, I really don't want to cause fuss here, but I sent an email about this too short before the meeting, but I'm still
that section, Jan,
that
section, if you want to make it a priority, make it a priority. And whether it makes it in today or down the road, it just requires adjusting the terms of reference. I think everybody in the room recognizes that, maybe that should have been included. So let's just kind of, if you want to make it your priority, great, you're totally welcome to do that. But
can I say what it is?
Yeah, sorry.
She doesn't even know what we're talking about.
No.
So it's the section beside Rob Road going into the Hinton Bike Park. There was confusion at the beginning. Some of us thought that we said we were not going to deal with that as a group. But then we made the mistake of okaying money to be spent on it, which kind of means that it is part of our unit, our area. I'm fine either way, but I think we need to make a decision as a group to move forward before we start prioritizing. Now, I take Heather's point, it's valid. I mean, someone can still mention it, but to me, I'm looking at it the other way. If we just make a decision right now, then it makes it easier moving forward. That's it. Thanks.
So the way I see that was the work plan that was presented by administration, and forgoing the technicality of the terms of reference, I think for the purposes of this group, it would be fine to make recommendations to change that. If the group thinks that the maintenance dollars could be better spent on a different section rather than the Rob Road section, I personally don't have any problem with having that brought forward as a recommendation. So like Heather said, if somebody thinks that you know, that priority should be changed, I don't have a problem considering that as a member of this group. So unless somebody else, you know, has a differing opinion, I'm okay with that. You know, does that kind of fit with what you're thinking, Jan, or?
I think to me, yeah, sure, it fits, but to me, it's just better if you just say, if we change the terms of reference and say that portion is now part of our area. Or,
So the unfortunate thing with that, this committee doesn't have the power to change the terms of reference. Terms of reference for the committee are set by council. This is the work that council wants the committee to do. So that's why I said, I think we can just forego the technicality of what the terms of reference says and just have a discussion in our group and make our recommendations.
okay, if everyone's happy with going against what the terms of reference say, then.
Well, I don't really think it actually goes against the terms of reference. We're simply recommending that we understand you want to spend some money fixing up the section that's by Rob Road, but as the group that's responsible for the Beaver Boardwalk and the boardwalks that are in that section, we feel the money would be better used to fix up section
Okay. No, that's
CC,
fine.
or,
Yeah.
well, not CC, it just got.
It's not on our
Whatever.
map.
One of the other ones.
I didn't think it was part of the area.
Yeah, so I think we can handle it. You know, I think we can reasonably handle it that way, as long as the group's okay with it. I'm okay with it. Administration is okay with
Yeah, I
it that way.
what I can say about it, what am I saying right now in the last days, but I'm even okay when the group down here says like, hey, the 60K should be better spent somewhere there. So forget the 10 or 15K you were planning on doing Rock Road section. I think when that's a recommendation, we can still accommodate that as, let's do that, but it only means that we're gonna swing some maintenance hammers to that Rock Road section. We did that 3 years ago when it totally collapsed on one side. We pulled it straight. We have to do that a little bit more. It's not gonna look awesome sauce because I know he doesn't have 10, 15K laying around. But if that's the case, then we know that from here on then as well for the future and saying, you know what? Let's first go to the boardwalk committee and talk about the 60K. If we need to do that section next to Rock Road next year again, or the section at the end of Muldoon Crescent, which is a bridge, again, we'll take that separately. I'm fine with that. And if that makes life better, why not?
That's a little off topic. I don't know if that made sense. Like, the idea is that, no, okay. So what Hans is saying basically is if the recommendation from the committee is no, we feel the whole 60 grand should be spent in the Beaver Boardwalk this year because we feel there's higher priority sections, then maybe it means that there's a capital project request through the capital budget for some money to fix boardwalk somewhere else.
That's a conclusion.
Just,
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Jan first and
and
then.
just maybe this will help me. And sorry, but is that section already planned to be repaired using the money that the 60K?
That's how we presented it. Like we
And we voted on
prioritized
it,
4
so-
sections, including that.
So it's
section.
already gonna be fixed. It's
But if I
already,
don't spend the 60K on it, we're gonna say, let's do the 60K on this map. Then I have to tell Chad, do what you can with your hammers and your screws that you already have. You're not getting extra money to tackle that. Just do what you can.
okay, I guess the way I'm phrasing it is, right now, I thought we were prioritizing all our greens. And that was already, the 60K is not really part of what we're talking about right
Okay,
now.
if that's the case.
Is that the case?
Well, to be honest, a lot of the stuff we're gonna talk about today isn't gonna happen this year, so it is prioritizing all the hopes and dreams, because we actually don't have any money right now other than the bridge ramp.
Then I
Money.
backpedal.
So we have 60K, or we had 60K to do work. And this was part of it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of already taken care of. So I don't need to add it to my list because it's already covered off.
That's correct.
Thank you.
And the group is still good with that. Awesome. You have your 60K, you know your 4 sections. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I agree, like the 60,000 was presented But I guess my confusion was, and I have no problem this year of how it's gonna be spent, because it's already, the decision's been made, so I'm not gonna argue that. But in the future, I always thought that $60,000 was for the boardwalk. And that job, like the Muldoon Crescent and the Rob Road Boardwalk, are kind of separate. So I think for future years, we've got to maybe talk about that, like, is that 60,000? Like, I always thought that it was boardwalk maintenance money and all the other stuff was separate. So at some point, I'd like that clarified for another year. And maybe we just decide that 60,000 is a boardwalk, and then in future years, you have to have capital requests for additional work elsewhere.
I think it's fair.
Yep.
Sorry, I think that's fair to say that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. But this year, I wouldn't argue, you know, the decision was been made, and it's not part of what we're doing here.
Thank you.
All right, sorry, just before I go back to Heather, can everybody hear Heather okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Stuffed up a bit.
What's that? You're stuffed up?
Oh, she's stuffed up a bit.
Oh, she
But
is,
she's
yeah.
fine.
Well, because we have volume control, we can crank it up a little bit
Oh,
if
that's
anybody's having trouble hearing. No, okay, good. I can
Okay,
hear. I can
All
hear,
right.
but I'm right by the speakers, so.
so I
Okay.
think we left off at, everybody has their sticky note except for Kevin and Doug. Alexa, what number does Kevin have?
Kevin has 9.
9. Oh, you already told them. Okay, so Doug is 8.
Yes.
Okay, so in that case, we're going to start with Kevin. So Alexa's going to jot down the priorities that Kevin gives us. Oh, yep, sure. You need 1 second.
Yeah, I only had a chance to just kind of like really get into this now. So if you want to skip to 2 more people, I'll have the list for you in a sec. So, okay, thanks.
Doug, do you want to go ahead?
Sure. Yeah, I can start. Okay, so I took a couple of notes before the meeting. In general, my priorities are on access and on safety. I'm not usually supportive of things like interpretive classrooms and stuff. The core of any trail system, at least in my personal interpretation, is to encourage the use of it and not endanger those using it. So I have a couple of notes, one capital comment and then mostly maintenance comments. So the first capital comment, and going to that MWL report, the one that most appealed to me was the Mountain Street pedestrian access, which was 3.3. I really liked how that improves your access basically partway through the trail rather than just dropping in at either end of it. From the Edmonton River Valley park system, which is something that I appreciate quite a bit, they have drop-ins from just about every single neighborhood. So they have really great access to that Edmonton River Valley system. And I also like how there's the potential for improved parking access with a Mountain Street pedestrian access. I mean, nothing's guaranteed, but there's certainly the potential for some negotiation there. And parking has always been one kind of an ongoing issue for the 2 current accesses to the boardwalk. So that's really my number 1 vote for potential capital upgrades to the trail system in future. Moving on to a couple of maintenance items. Again, access and safety are kind of the things that I'll focus on most of all. So the one that appeals to me most is that east side of Maxwell Lake, which is section E of the new map. That section there and the pier that kind of protrudes into Maxwell Lake are getting very wobbly, especially the pier with the piles underneath where it's actually decoupled from the piles in a couple of spots. So I'm a little bit concerned about the stability of that section. So concerned about the stability of the section, but I'd really hate to see it be a closed off section because it has some of the best views of the boardwalk, kind of looking from the lake, looking north across the lake. And without it, it's quite a substantial detour into the forest to the south. So that's really one of my main votes for a maintenance repair priority. The second maintenance repair priority that I would make would be recommissioning this section from the classroom to the bridge, which is section Y on the map. The reason why I'd suggest this is another high priority over the next couple of years for, actually, I guess I don't know if this would be maintenance or capital, but anyway, the reason why I vote for this section is that it's the only way to complete a loop of the boardwalk for those interested in just a short loop of the boardwalk, rather than going all the way into the forest. So those with kids or seniors, it's really the only way you can do a loop without making a there and back trip, without going, for 2 kilometers basically. And it's also melts much, much faster than the treat areas that are further down south of the boardwalk. So this little area is actually the most accessible during winter where the snow melts quicker. So that would be one of my votes there for recommissioning that section. So those are 3 items. I'll throw a 4th item, which is a small item out there, which would be repairing to the South Watchtower, which is section R on the map. And the reason why I say this one, because it generally has the best view of the Beaver Lodge. And I also still see a lot of people using it, which is a bit concerning if it's technically not safe to be used. So that's all I got. Thanks.
Awesome. Perfect example. Thank you, Doug. So Kevin did ask for a little bit more time. So whoever has number 7, you are next.
Be me.
Just before you start, Alexa, were you okay? Did you capture all that?
Yeah, I just want to go over it with Doug. So I have it kind of high level, so because if there is overlap of other people having similar priorities, then I'll keep it as like the section. So I have Mountain Street access, section E, section Y, and section R.
That's correct. Yes. Thank you.
Right, okay.
All righty. Okay, take it away, Tom.
I didn't really go off the map too far. Some of the open boardwalk priorities that were missed this winter sections, I guess they were BNL, I guess they're X and W now, if I'm reading it correctly. Obviously, there was a priority to put them in for some repair work this winter that was missed because of the typical winter or the conditions that were existing. Section AA used to be section O, I guess, west of the bridge. We keep talking about it. It keeps coming up as far as the section, and I guess there's some periodization with that one, with the repairs to whatever happens with the bridge as far as the ramps go. So if you're doing one, the other sort of makes sense to do, have them together as a feeder. I think maybe straightening section and O toward the ramp instead of making a jog there. I would pull it back from the creek a little bit closer to the bridge, but also improve some of the traffic flow. That's pretty much all I have. The Reimer Drive entrance, sat there a few times and watched the amount of traffic that goes through there. I'm starting to understand some of the wear to the deck because it's fairly steady. I guess it's one of those areas where I think it's probably worth an investment. And after looking at what's happened at the Sutherland entrance, I think widening it would make sense. And, I guess leading directly to section D, I guess, in the new map. I did that on the fly, missing it. Section D along the lake gives some options there, again, disperses some of the traffic as it comes in from that particular section of the boardwalk. Then I went West Tower. Just the West Tower was an important asset and is something I miss, honestly. That's about all I had, guys.
Excellent. Thank you. Alexa, do you want to parrot that back to just make sure we got all the right sections?
Yeah, sections X and W.
Yep.
Section O, West Bridge.
We think it's called double A.
Double A.
Oh, double A now, okay.
I did that on the fly though. So we're good.
I have Reimer Drive entrance to section D.
Yep.
And then the West Tower.
R.
R, section R.
R, yes, that's R.
Yep.
That one I missed.
Perfect. Kevin, are you ready or would you like me to go to number 6 first?
Oh, no, I think I'm good to go. I
Okay,
was just
Kevin,
worried
take it away.
I was worried about articulating, what I thought was the most important parts. So anyway, but yeah, so when I look at the map overall and it had the walk on got a chance to walk the new sections that were installed last week. It was pretty awesome. And I just wanted to, I kind of prioritize based on, what's the identity of this place. I mean, I've kind of touched on that a couple of times and other things like management planning would be great and thinking about what's the experience we're getting people to do. So I think honestly, any of the trails that are in that core area right around the Beaver Pond are kind of priority A. Working outwards to follow the aquatic ecosystem up along Maxwell Lake, and some of those falling apart pieces kind of becomes my second priority. A third priority, if there was any potential of improving one of the access points into the Beaver Boardwalk to be wheelchair accessible at grade. I mean, in a pie in the sky concept, would be great, because I know the Sutherland access is still pretty steep. So, you know, I think adding some universality would be ideal. And then just after that, I think, you know, the towers that formerly used to be around or would be a really great asset to have, particularly like we were saying, the one that's immediately in the Beaver Pond area. So I don't know if, did you want me to list off sections, or is that sufficient?
Alexa, were you able to interpret some sections based on that, or do you need a little bit more help from the
Kind
group?
of, but I don't have a map in front of me, so I don't.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we got tons of maps.
Thanks.
How much, yeah?
I do, if you prefer me to list them off, kind of thing.
Oh, sure. So for the pond area, what section were you referring to?
Well, honestly, like, you know, anything that's around section X, section Y, W, section S, they're all pretty critical. Restoring section AA, which I think was mentioned before. I kind of listed them all as like a priority together, because again, that's your core focal experience of the whole place, right? Is keeping that boardwalk intact. And I felt like I saw some slippage in the boardwalk a little bit from my last couple of visits, but maybe that was just maybe that was me. And then my second kind of priority was Maxwell Lake section. So I guess the restoration of section E or E and D together, whichever one is currently closed. And then if I had a third priority, it was, I don't think it's an either access point, but just trying to look towards, you know, like I say, universality of access to the boardwalk, because if you're, you know, replacing the decking with this wider system of boardwalk, it certainly lends itself to wheelchair use. And it seems to me that the Sutherland access and the other access are both just pretty steep places to access if you were actually a wheelchair user, but that's just my opinion. So, and that's it.
Okay, Alexa, did you get all of that down?
Yeah, I just want to make sure. So for the pond area, I have section X, W, S, and AA. And then second priority is section E / D, the closed area. And then the third priority I have is wheelchair accessibility. And the fourth one I have is the towers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, moving on to,
I've just got a question on the map. Maybe,
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
just for Jan, just the sections around the pond, there's X, W, and is it T that goes and joins the main?
Yeah.
Okay, not, and S is the main trail.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
probably whoever,
Yeah.
Kevin probably meant T instead of S, I'm guessing, I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay.
T is the bridge, basically.
Yeah, T, I guess, yeah, it is T looking out of the.
I'll make little lines to the sections to make it clear.
The immediate Beaver Pond area. Okay, thanks.
okay, so we'll go on to whoever has number 6.
Me. So my number one item would be, and it's already underway, would be connecting the bridge on the north and south side with a permanent solution. But I understand that's already underway with the capital project. So number 2 would be to replace sections intended to be replaced this past winter, so that W, X, and T. And number 3 would be reestablishing a wayfinding signage throughout the network, whether that's just the little plaques on posts or having some sort of QR code that you can scan and figure out where you are and how to get out of there if you really want it. Number 4 would be reestablishing sections V and W, West Loop. My 5th item would be reestablishing sections D and any repairs to E and AA. So, draw my wish list at that.
So I have a connection from the north and south side. The second priority was W, X, and T. Third is wayfinding signage. Fourth priority is E and W, the West Loop. And the last one was D, E, and double A.
Yeah, again, you could just keep that at D and E.
Oh, just D and E?
Awesome, thank you. Number 5.
Yes,
And I don't mean to be referring to you guys as numbers. I just don't know who has what number.
no, I'm pretty much at 5. Okay, so top priority is building a disc golf course around the whole area. Drilling the baskets in with the screw piles.
Love it.
Okay, so that's aside. My number 1 is section AA, because that is a very unique segment. You can see the beavers and muskrats. Usually that's the best section for seeing those. My whole general reasoning is because I want closed sections opened. So my next one would be V and U, another, very unique loop, especially U, because it gives you that you're right beside the forest edge. So that's a unique piece to me. The next section would be D, because that is the closed section regarding E and D. It's pretty much D is where the west side of D is where it's closed. Number 4 would be the lookouts. As everyone said, they're great, especially when you get the trio of string instruments out there playing every Friday night. That's pretty cool. And finally, I would agree that even though it's already in the books for being done, it's important to get that bridge ramped access for wheelchairs and for bikes and for everything else. Thanks.
So I have double A, B and U, D, the lookout tower, and wheelchair accessible
For the bridge, for the Maxwell Lake Bridge.
for Maxwell Lake Bridge.
Thanks.
Awesome, number 5. 4? 4.
Yep, that's me. Okay, my priorities are kind of hedged on the condition. Like some years we might have priorities and then we realize something is really in bad condition, we need to fix it. So that's why I've been asking for that condition assessment report, but in the absence of that, I'll just go through my priorities. I thought, well, what can I base these priorities on? And I thought, well, Rick Bonner built this thing in 3 years, and following his pattern may be a useful idea as well. So with the funding, maybe not 3 years, but within 5 years, I think how fast can we do this? This is important if we get a big pack of funding. So my priority initially would be the bridge to the outdoor classroom, the AA. It's for connectivity and restoration. That's a key piece, and that'll distribute people a lot easier around the whole place. There, you may need screw piles, or that the technicality would come later. Then, like the first year, Rick did from the bridge all the way around the pond to the main trail. So that would be AA. Well, I don't, and then what was planned for this year, like W and T. So make sure that whole loop right around the pond is in good shape. That would be my first priority. The next would be the downstream loop, which is V and U. A lot of people really like that. That really there's a lot of public sentiment about that one. And again, restoring its codes, so that would open that. Then the Rocky Mountain Tower. Let's get that thing up on the Beaver Pond.
That's our.
That's our. Yep, thanks. And then the east end of the lake. the section E and D. Now D may, which is closed, now that may need floating section and may need some different engineering in there, but I'll just do priorities and not the engineering. And then other priorities, sort of miscellaneous, would be the water deck. Does that need to be replaced with a floating structure? And wayfinding signs to me is important, but I would think that they could be fit in, maybe even under the 60,000 maintenance or something like that. So to me, those are real, these two things are important, but we maybe find other ways of paying for that. So that's
That's
my
it?
priority. Yeah.
Okay, so I have section AA,
Yeah.
W and T,
Yeah.
V and U, tower, which is section R,
Yeah.
E and D. Then I have the water deck and wayfinding signage. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Alexa. Number 3.
That's me. We're done all the committee members then, correct? Yep, okay. So most of what I've got is based on feedback that I've gotten from citizens. And what I've heard is that they want to see a bunch of the closed sections reopened. So I guess in terms of priority for closed section reopening, AA is probably the one I hear the most about. They want that loop from the classroom over to the Maxwell Lake Bridge to get closed off. And then after that, V and U. In talking with people about section U, depending on how much funding is available, they'd like to see section U reopened where it is. But if there isn't sufficient funding, I've had quite a few people say that from where V and U meet near the bench there, if V was continued straight south to tie into the town trail there, they'd be okay with that too, because it would still close that loop. And then section R, including the observation tower. And then section T as well. But again, depending on funding that's available, some of the people that I've talked to they've acknowledged that there's a town trail that's just to the east of that. And that they do feel that having Q and P and the town trail all in alignment going north and south. If they had to pick one that didn't exist anymore, it would be that P wouldn't be there anymore. So in terms of reconstruction, that would be the priorities. Some of the other ones that were, the sections that were slated for reconstruction, from what I've gotten from people, they'd rather those are just maintained as they need to be to ensure that they stay open, but they'd rather see the closed sections rebuilt and opened over that. So maintenance priority would go, I guess, to those sections that were slated for reconstruction, but that would come with the caveat that I'd be all right with the administration's assessments of the currently open areas that are in most dire need of the maintenance to ensure that they continue to stay open. That's how I would prioritize that based on what I've gotten back from the community.
How would you like me to put the class?
So maintenance, so repairs and maintenance would be on currently open sections as prioritized by administration. They're the ones that are doing the assessment of it. I don't feel that I'm necessarily the one that's climbing around underneath them, looking and deciding which sections should be done before other sections. So, yeah.
So I have AA, B and U, R and the tower. P and then the current open sections are guided by admins suggestions.
And did you get the caveats that I attached to U and P though? The caveat with U is that if there isn't budget available to rebuild U, the people I've talked to have said it would be okay to remove U and just extend V straight south to where it ties into the town trail. And if it was unlikely that there's ever going to be budget to rebuild P, they'd rather see P removed and maybe rebuilt at some point in the future under a new Water Act approval. One of the things I'm getting from citizens is they don't like seeing those sections existing but not accessible. They'd rather, if it means having to do a new Water Act approval and rebuild them at some point in the future, they'd sooner see them removed and rebuilt at some point in the future rather than having them exist in the condition that they are and remaining closed.
Alexa and Heather, how much caveats being weighed here?
I was just gonna say, if we had all the money in the world, what would that priority be, right? So if it's keep, I think you said P and remove U, right? Just imagine we had all the money in the world.
Well, then everything gets
In the-
rebuilt.
Yeah.
Well, okay, but
Well, what's your priority?
Start where? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's priority. Priority is to like that. That's why I put the caveat on there. Priority is get V open, but they don't really want to walk to the end of V and then walk back.
Well, I'm just saying it because my caveat is the opposite. My
Yeah.
caveat is people to me say that U is very important.
Yeah, Heather stated at the beginning of this that this is not debate. This is every individual's putting their suggestion forward. They're all going to get ranked, prioritized, and debated later.
So I'm just making sure that she's capturing our caveats then.
Yes.
I have a suggestion that I think will work for everyone. It's that we have, when we have the list of priorities, we have V and U together, and then I can have a separate one that is V, and then by itself with U, it like on its own. So there's one where they're together, they both get fixed, or we can have individual V by itself and U by itself. So there's 3 options we have it broken up.
So I haven't talked to Heather about this process, but I'm assuming step 2 is going to be amalgamation and consideration of everybody's suggestion altogether and discussion and debate.
Yep, so it's like you've done this before, Councillor Stashik. So yeah, so we'll rank them, and I'm gonna take that list away and bring it back, circulate it to the group, and then that's when we'll have that debate. So that will actually happen at our next meeting when we have kind of a robust list, and then it'll be put into a format of kind of a capital and kind of logical how you would do one section and then the next section and so forth.
One comment, maybe this is more for discussion next meeting, but I thought this group already said that we didn't, like, there were no duplicate sections, so I suppose you could read that as separate, like, so I'm not sure why we're discussing potentially not opening closed sections.
If the money is.
I'm just passing on the feedback I'm getting from the community.
Yeah.
People have said they'd rather see them removed than continue to exist for 10 or 15 or however many years in the condition that they are. They do want to see them rebuilt at some point in the future, but they don't want them to sit there and be an eyesore and in the condition that they are. So. And that it's for the group to debate. That's just my 2 cents on what I get from the community. So,
Alexa, did you already read those back to Councillor Stashik, or?
It was double A, and then would you like it just to be the separated?
yeah, I mean, it sounds like the group has a concern about saying, you know, about my expressing that I'm getting feedback that some sections should be removed. So it's okay. I can change it then. I just want to reprioritize it. That's all. So it'd be AA, V, R, and then U, and then P.
All right, are you ready, Alexa?
Yes.
Okay. I think 2 is Chad, is that right?
Correct. I gotta get going, so I'm gonna be quick. W, T, E, C, and R. All sections that are open, except for R, that's the lookout. I'd like to see double A as, that's kind of one of those I hope and wish that I'd like to see it because it is a beautiful place. It needs to be rectified, but I picked open places that are crumbling and need to be rectified sooner than later. Let's go.
Awesome. Chad, yeah, just before you head out, so what we'll do is we'll circle back to you tomorrow so that you can add your voting in, similar to how they're gonna do it tonight. We'll just add you in last.
Okay, thank you. Good luck, everyone, guys. Yep. Sure. Good luck.
All right, Alexa, did you catch all those?
I did.
Okay, and on to Hans.
Thank you for what it's worth. Now, it's interesting to hear the different things because it's a different approach. So I almost have everything part of that in my list. So rebuild, lookout, that's R. Toss out section B.
Like closed sections?
No, toss it out, rip it out.
Oh, okay.
Section B, that's the, no. Let's say remain or make sure that section C and Maxwell Lake Bridge are done. U, connect to the trail. Darn it, he stole my thunder. And J, build again. And the only caveat on it's like XWT should never close. So it's interesting. It's an amalgamation from what Chad said, like keep things open, don't close anything anymore. That's important. It's trail connectivity, of course, which sits in my head. But I think it's also important that certain things are being rebuilt. The lookout is one of my priorities over there, / the dog. That's my list.
I just want to make sure that we're recording this right, so I'm not trying to, but I could have swore that Albert was saying to get rid of U and connect V to the trail, whereas you just said connect U to the trail.
Yes.
So they're two different.
Yeah,
Okay.
I said rebuild V and connect V to the town trail, and I think Hans said
U.
rebuild
Okay.
U and connect
Okay.
U to the town
But
trail.
he said he stole my, so I thought he was.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you're right.
They're
That's
different.
not really my
And I
thunder.
also just wanted, for Albert's sake, I could have swore that when you did your last roll of priorities, you said you first.
Yes, you did, because I scratched that as well.
So
That's
it
why I
should have
thought-
been V.
I'll go back to Alexa.
I had double A was your first one.
Yep.
And then I have V,
Okay,
and
sorry,
then R, and then U.
And then P.
And then.
And then P, yeah.
sorry, thanks.
Okay, so thank you for everyone for bringing those forward. What Alexa's going to do now, she's going to move through the room and she's going to put those titles around the room, okay? We're just going to give her some time to do that, and then she's going to hand you out some stickies. So for Kevin and Doug, were you guys able to keep your own notes, or will Alexa need to type that in for you?
No, I have notes. It's good.
You have notes, okay? Kevin?
Yeah, I have the notes just generally of where they were, but I
Okay.
can
All right.
specify sections here real quick, no problem. No.
Okay, I guess, Alexa, how long do you need before those stickies can go up on the wall?
Maybe if could we, like 5 minutes?
Yeah, like we can move on to the next thing, and then when you're ready, just let us know and we'll continue with the activity if that's easier.
Okay, just to clarify, if there are doubles, we just want one.
Correct.
Okay.
Sorry, Hans?
Yeah, point of order, it's 6:05, so of course, there's a lot to do and we knew that already, and sorry, I took a lot of time presenting the project.
That's good.
I'm not sure what the committee wants to do. I only have to go out at 6:30, but. Check.
Okay, are we okay to keep going for a little bit?
Yes.
Sorry, what was the sticky process? I can keep going, but what are we doing with stickies?
Heather, while Alexa does that, do you want to go over what we're doing with the stickies again?
Yeah. Okay, so what's gonna happen next is Alexa's gonna place all of the prioritized sections that you guys mentioned on a space on the wall. Then what's gonna happen is each of you is going to receive sticky notes with the numbers 1 through 5 on them, with 1 being your highest priority and 5 being your lowest. Then I want you to walk around the room and stick your sticky notes with your number side facing the wall under whichever ones you think the priority should be based on what everyone has put forward and everything you've heard here today. Does that make sense?
So just to clarify for the group, though, that's not the end of the discussion. That's just going to allow you to bring amalgamated talking points to the next meeting, and then we can discuss,
Absolutely.
debate, and use that to come up with an
Yeah.
actual prioritized list. Yeah.
Yes. This is just going to help us focus a little bit more and really helps us find out kind of where there were commonalities between the group and kind of those outliers. Any ones that don't end up with sticky notes under them, we're still going to categorize those. They'll just be at kind of the bottom of the list for consideration when we meet next. All right, so if you guys want to just wait for Alexa or move on to the next bit of the agenda, I'll leave that up to Councillor Section.
We can move on while Alexa gets that ready. That's fine. So we'll come back to 4.2 for the moment. We'll move on to 5.1 meeting time change. There's been a couple committee members that have expressed it's a little bit challenging to be able to meet for 4 o'clock. As far as I'm flexible, I can meet whenever, generally, most times, whenever the group's available. So we just want to talk a little bit about meeting times and what would work best for everybody. I guess the proposal that was kind of thrown out there was same day, which would be second Wednesday of each month, but switch the meeting time to 6 p.m. instead of 4 p.m. Any thoughts or comments?
That works for me.
About Jan and then Kevin.
I'm flexible. I guess I like it the way it is, but I'm flexible.
Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't mind it moving a little bit later, just because honestly, I typically work till 4:30, and honestly, I'm in a communications and media role, though it might be a bit similar to Heather's. And yeah, I face a crunch pretty much every time I'm doing a meeting now. So later is better if there's some
What's a good
willingness.
time? Sorry, what's a good time for you, Kevin?
I can put the phone down at 5 and not argue with people at work. So
At 5?
5 or later, yeah, anything like that, yeah.
Okay.
So, even if it's once in a while, doesn't have to be all the time, but just yeah, would be.
Yeah.
And I could come in person.
Yeah, that'd be
Thanks.
awesome. Doug?
Okay. Yeah.
I'm flexible on time. It's not really a pressure issue for me, but I do work out of town. So Wednesdays are actually the one day that doesn't work for me, which is why I'm always on Zoom. So I would put together a suggestion that maybe Thursday or Friday is better for me, but I mean, if the group is fine with Wednesdays, I'm okay with it on Zoom. It's no big deal.
Okay, so a suggestion for Thursday or Friday.
I can't do Thursday or Friday.
Okay, I can't do Tuesdays, that's council day, so Beth, I know you had a concern about the time.
Yeah, I think a bit later, like I work like till 5 and I have to take time off of work to get here all the time, so the 6 o'clock would be fine with me. A later meeting. And like I can do Thursday and Friday if we're going to change the date or Monday.
And you can't do Thursday, Friday at all?
No,
No, okay.
but you know, yeah, but
I not too
Or-
concerned about the day. If Jan can't make that day, I won't make any further suggestion. I'm fine with just sticking with Zoom.
Anyone else?
Flexible.
Okay. Trevor, any thoughts?
No, I'm flexible. I can work
Flexible
around
too,
it.
so it sounds like probably for most people, Wednesday's okay. Unfortunately, we can't make that work for Doug, but there's challenges with other people on the other days, I guess. What about Mondays?
I can do Monday.
What about Mondays for everyone else?
Fine with me.
Yeah, Monday's okay with me too. Heather, is that for you guys?
Monday is okay. It just might mess up our flow with getting the agendas out because I did such a good job of that this time. So yeah, we'll just have to we'll make it work either way. Councillor Stashik, we just might have to adjust some of our additional meetings, but I'm open to whatever.
Yeah, ideally, I think if agendas could go out by Friday. I don't know if that's, I know you guys are working on council agendas too, because they go out Friday as well, so it'd be a little challenging, but sounds like Monday's a day that everybody could be able to attend in person potentially then, if we made it a little bit later, like
Yeah, and if
Monday's
we're gonna
5:30.
I would
Sorry, Heather?
just propose that if we're gonna go with Mondays, then I would shoot to have our agendas out on Wednesdays so that we have time for council agendas and stuff on Fridays. And then that gives the group also enough time to review all the materials. So that
I think
works.
the more time, the better for sure. Yeah. Okay, so it sounds like Monday is 5:30 late enough for everybody to get there? Okay. Sorry, all right, so if Monday at 5:30 works, if somebody wants to throw that out as a motion, John?
Make a motion to move our meeting to Monday at 5:30.
Okay. There's a motion to change meetings to Monday at 5:30. Any comments, questions, or debate?
Starting date for that?
Next meeting, I would guess, yeah, so the May meeting, that okay, Jan?
Yep, add that to the motion.
Add that to the motion, okay. No comments, question, or discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? You're opposed to that, Doug?
Yeah, but honestly, if everyone else is good with Monday, it's fine for me. Zoom is basically Monday is no better than Wednesday.
I thought we were doing it for you.
No, I can't make a Monday either. Only Thursday, Friday. So I'll tell you what, I'm good with Zoom. Just make a time change is good.
Well, if okay, in that case.
I still would rather Monday myself, but if it's easier for Wednesday, I'm fine.
I know it's probably pretty rare, but one of the things to consider is most stats fall on Mondays. And
True. Yeah, that's
if
a
it
good
falls
point.
on a stat, then we wouldn't be able to.
Let's do it. Let's go with Wednesday at 5:30. I'd like to make a motion to cancel my last motion and make a new motion. I second that motion. That we change the main meeting and all meetings forward to Wednesdays at 5:30.
You guys are gonna hate me. Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, because we're bound by the procedure bylaw, we have to repeal that last motion. So somebody has to move. It's not repeal.
Move to
What's the
repeal the
word?
last motion.
What's the word? It's not repeal.
Rescind?
Rescind.
Yes.
Okay, Tom moves to rescind the prior motion. Any comment or discussion? All those in favor? Okay, so the prior motion's rescinded. Jan, you want to make a new
I'd
one?
like to make a motion that we change our committee meetings, starting in the May meeting to Wednesday at 5:30.
Thank you very much, Jan. Any comment, question, or debate? So none, all those in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thanks, guys. How you making out, Alexa? Hey. We will go on to meeting minutes structure format. I'll turn that over to you, Beth. That was raised by you.
Oh, I don't want to make more work for Trevor, but I just thought minutes, if all we're doing is recording motions, then it's really a record of minutes. It's not, there's a record of motions. So, yeah, like we're doing the essentials. But I always thought minutes were a little bit more than the essentials, like we're doing what is in law right now. We're not, you know, if we just cut it to a list of who's here, when we met at the time, you know, the motions. But I don't think it's realistic to expect if somebody wants to know what really went on, to sit there in real time and listen to the record. It, like, to me, the minutes are sort of a helpful summary that will say, oh, now I'll go in and listen to that part of it. So I'm not sure if you want to have any comment. I don't want to make more work for you, but it sounded like we were just going to strip it right to a list of motions, which to me, well, that's not minutes. We call it a list of record of motions, but maybe I would like to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I've got
Yeah.
a comment. But I see Doug and Heather have their hands up.
Yeah, so I'll go Heather and then Doug and then go to Trevor.
Thanks, Councillor Stashik. So one of the things we could do, Beth, that might be a good split down the middle is because, of course, we are posting these videos for everyone, but the meetings do kind of get long, right? So when we come to each section of the agenda, what I've seen other municipalities do is they log the time that we get to each of those items, so that if somebody only wants to know about item 4.2 or section 4, right, we can put the time in there so that they know where to go to the video, right? How long into the video, and that can be posted as well, so that if they want to see how the conversation went, that's why we've been recording the videos, and then the actual motions are just there for a legislative record.
And actually, I think that's what minutes are about, is recorded up, and that time is recorded, like so-and-so this time, so-and-so discussed blah. So that would be a good idea. Yeah. Like that, I think that's where the name minutes came from, actually, is that time record.
Thank you, Heather. Doug?
I'd want to keep them as simple to do as possible, because presumably there will be a time when Trevor will not want to do them anymore and he'll want to pass the torch. And I don't know if we'll be very enthusiastic to receive that torch if they're difficult to do.
Thank you, Doug. Trevor?
Yeah, my comment is that I was copying the format that was provided to me initially, and I've never taken minutes like that. That's quite extensive. I appreciate the amount of involvement I have now versus I was previously, before I was just typing furiously, because I did not feel like we were watching our 2.5 to 3 hour meetings again. We have the benefit of having the recordings, so if someone wishes to go back and see what happened, we have the ability to. I like the idea of recording the time for the section. That sounds great to me. And if we are going back to the old or the previous style, then yeah, I probably would be able to pass the torch on.
Yeah, I mean, I've done minutes before too, and it's a big job. So like I say, we can get some kind of medium. I like the time. The time is a good way to, because it's not realistic to expect people to sit there in real time and go through the whole record. It's not, but that's a good idea. So yeah, I don't want to overload you or have you quit either.
Because it will be you.
Yeah, well, or someone else.
Yeah, so my concern from the start with the way that the minutes were being kept is that Trevor's he's a participating member of the committee, and I was concerned that his whole meeting time was being devoted to making sure the minutes were captured, and he wasn't able to participate in the committee as a committee member to the extent that that would be, you know, the most beneficial. Extensive minutes they're fine if you have a designated minute taker and that's their only role, their only job is to take those minutes. But I think for Trevor to be able to contribute to the best ability that he can, keeping the minutes as simple as possible. And sorry, I keep saying Trevor, but whoever's taking the minutes, if keeping them as simple as possible and still reflecting what happened in the meeting and providing some reference for people is definitely the way to go. So, Tom?
I guess the technology is providing us with the ability to index the YouTube video too, so if the minutes give a reasonable outline, it still gives us a good way to go back if we have questions or we want to revisit it as well.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, seeing no other hands waving, it does sound like we want to make some kind of a change, minor or major, to the way minutes are taken. So that would just have to be put out there by motion from someone. Trevor?
Motion that we make the motion that we add the timestamp to the documentation of motions.
Okay. But other than that, the minute taking will stay at the current format. Correct? Yep. Okay. All right. Any comments or questions or discussion from the committee? Okay,
All
seeing-
in favor?
All in
Yeah.
favor?
Yeah, the timestamp was to the different.
Opposed?
Sorry.
Kevin, what was your, what did you? In favor? Yeah, okay, so that's unanimous then. Awesome, thanks, everyone. Anything further on that before we move on?
This timestamp was to, on all of the items, not just the motions, right?
I believe that was kind of the discussion. Was that your understanding, Trevor? You'd record the time when we changed to each of the new topics?
Yeah, so when it's 5.1. 6.1.
The way I've seen them index it on YouTube, they're very specific about being committed. So there's enough information that if you're looking for a specific part, you can. These things, it's set up properly.
So if that's something the committee wants, that's likely going to require a different motion because that's going to require some additional work for whoever's doing the YouTube's uploads.
Sorry, Councillor Stashik, what is it that Tom had said?
So on YouTube videos, you can set time indexes. So I believe it shows up on the timeline on the bottom of the YouTube video. You can indicate different points where different events happen in the video. But I'm pretty sure that would need to be done by whoever's doing the uploading. So that would be more work for them.
I mean, it's definitely worth us looking into just in general, but that means that when they're uploading it, they actually have to screen through it and be like, and now they changed to here, and now they changed to here. But we'll take a peek and see how much extra work it actually would be. But for now, we'll stick with the time change, and I'll come back with some extra info on that.
Well,
Would the minutes then help us enable an index to occur? Because that's just the other part. If we're going to be indexing it via the minutes, it should give us some reasonable guide to doing it in the videos.
okay, so I'm assuming, Heather, you'll contact someone in IT and talk to them and see,
What the work.
or do we even want to do that?
I,
At this point, is that something we want to do? We want to pursue that?
I mean, it's not a bad, it's actually a really good idea. I kind of just want to flesh it out and see how much it takes. It's not an IT thing. That's an R side, like comm side of the table thing. So I'll just
Okay,
save that as a item that I'm just going to update the group on next time.
As long as it's not.
oh, that's an Alexa thing?
It's not just making much more work. That's the
Okay.
other part.
Okay, well, we'll leave that with you. If the committee's okay, we'll leave it as is for now, and if it's not working or we want more or whatever, that's something we can consider down the road. All right. Okay, Alexa?
Just checking, I'm just going through, making sure nothing was missed.
Okay. Yep, no problem. We'll move on to volunteer logistics. So this is feeding from a discussion that happened previously about having volunteers do work, insurance requirements, liability, WCB, all that. In talking with administration, that's probably a bigger task than originally thought. So we kind of wanted to have a preliminary discussion on ways that maybe we could narrow that down a little bit to what the committee's thinking the volunteers might be able to do, the roles they're playing. As an example, are they assisting a contractor who carries the umbrella of liability and workers' comp coverage, and they kind of work under the contractor, or are they working fully independently like a work bee that's not? I'm probably going on too much. Heather, did you want to add anything to that regarding some putting some guidelines around what the committee's expecting from the volunteer logistics thing?
Yeah, I was just from the conversation, unfortunately, to the group, I wasn't able to meet with Councillor Stashik to really flesh out the agenda. Alexa attended that in my absence, as well as Han, so thank you guys for that. I think the strategy that we employed for the questions that the group had for that one like administrative inquiry that we did, I'm just wondering if, you know, if the group does have any just general things they were wondering now, we can chat about it just quickly. But I think to receive all of those questions and then we can take them and provide the answers, that's kind of been the easiest and most successful way forward. That's just where my thoughts are at.
Are you just, sorry, you want to continue with the process that's already been initiated? You just need a little more time, or?
I haven't seen specific questions about volunteers. Did we get specific questions about the volunteering?
I'll throw that back to the committee. I know it was discussed at a high level and there was kind of some direction to administration to come back with the report to the committee. Jan?
I don't know if it's I just know that in certain like presentations that have been done to council, they talked about, and even Beth has mentioned it when she's talking about the bridge. She's been talking about getting volunteers to do the work, will save a lot of money. And then it became a conversation piece about the town. Is the town able to work with volunteers and the whole insurance and all that kind of stuff, which led to the discussion of maybe not-for-profit society should be formed, and the not-for-profit society runs the volunteers. The volunteer thing is, it's, you know, it's a bigger issue, I think. And I know I don't want to be, I didn't join this group to be running volunteers. That's what I know.
So I guess the question is, does this group want to get some more information on the challenges around having volunteer groups do the work, or do we not? Is that not something that we want to focus on? And if it is something we want to focus on, what do we need for information to have a better understanding of what that means? Doug?
So I wasn't the one who brought up volunteers originally, and it's not something I'm particularly staked on myself, but I think it would be interesting information to have in our back pocket. So specifically, the scenario that I would envision would be there would be no contractor volunteer involvement. I don't think there's any way you can make that happen. If I were a contractor, I would not want volunteers anywhere near me. So it would really need to be a self-contained work scope, and it would probably need to be something that your average person could do. So the decking, that would be basically what it would be. So my question would be, if we were to give a scope of replace and screw in basically warp sections of decking, a very limited carpentry scope, is that something we could do with volunteers, and what do we need to do legally to permit that activity to happen?
Okay, Kevin?
Yeah, I was just gonna to put out there that I think like when we start talking about volunteers as kind of like an object or a discussion point, I think the first thing to come back to is why do you want volunteers? And so in a sense, because you know, volunteer engagement by its very nature is a good way of, you know, kind of developing community relationship and stewardship of a project like the Boardwalk. So, you know, are we looking to establish deeper roots in the community, or do you want to get particular parts of the town involved? Like, you know, you've already got some community members that already go out and kind of clear off the, you know, the lake, Maxwell Lake, for skating. I mean, they do it on their own free will, but are they volunteers or not? And so there's a lot of really cool potentials that come from volunteers. But yeah, so I think just one thing is just, you know, when you're charging into what volunteers do, just being really clear why you want volunteers. Is it to conduct maintenance, or is it more of a engagement thing? Do you want youth to sort of do a bio blitz of the whole area and see what kind of like plants are growing and everything? You know, is what's the aim of having volunteers kind of helps guide where you're getting them from, I think. And then just to reiterate, I think maybe Doug's point that, you know, volunteers probably don't want to be doing work that paid staff of the town of Hinton would do, or the work their contractors are doing. They're definitely not there to do any kind of work that, would be replaced. And you also have to remember that there are some, legal requirements, like volunteers have to be kept to the same occupational health and safety standards as regular employees. And in a lot of other agencies like Alberta Parks and, with us at Parks Canada, we have to keep them covered to WCB levels the same as you would anyone else. So those are just all things to think about when you have volunteers. I mean, they're really great when they come together and do really exciting work like rebuilding trail or maintaining boardwalks and stuff, but just being really clear why you want them, and then just being clear that the responsibility to looking after them is just the same as anyone else, like an employee or a member of this committee or anyone else like that. So that was a bit of a ramble. Thanks. Okay.
Go to Jan and then Heather.
I think you're asking if we want the town to come back to us with more information on the use of volunteers. So I would say yes. Like Doug said, I think can't be bad information to have. But I agree with everything that Kevin just said, and including the town employee versus volunteers. I know through disc golf, there was discussion about that kind of stuff. So you have to keep that in mind. And I have other thoughts on volunteers in general, but I'll leave that for another time.
Okay, thank you. Heather?
Yeah, just kind of to close out on everyone's points. This is information that we can easily get and bring back just with respect to the legal side of things. There are some contractors, for example, who build programs and they do it, or playgrounds, and they do it based on the notion that it is community driven, and they do use volunteers. However, that's not in a wetland. So I do think it is very scope dependent. And once we have our list of our priorities, I'll also include a section on that list for, is there a part of this priority or this project at the boardwalk that we could invite volunteers to join us? Because I really liked Kevin's point around, what is the signature of the boardwalk? And if a part of that is to be that community hub and really bringing people back to nature by involving them in the process, that's true stewardship. So I think that there is a place. It's just going to be on a case-by-case basis, and I'll do some digging and see what I can bring back for you guys.
Okay, thank you, Heather. Beth?
Yeah, I'd appreciate the additional information that Heather is suggesting on bringing back to the group, but I am a member that does volunteer stuff. We just do it. Like we do a cleanup every spring, so we'll be doing a cleanup again of the whole boardwalk and trail area all around Maxwell Lake. Last year we got involved in the reclamation project on the north side of Maxwell Lake that was completely volunteer driven with good, really good help with Chad and his crew too. But, so there are places for volunteer, and I think Kevin's point of community engagement is really important here. Like we all love the boardwalk, but if there are opportunities to include volunteers in whatever aspects of maintenance are there, then I think we should know at least what the town's capability of including that is.
Okay. I don't want to derail the conversation. It's good conversation, but Hans has to get going.
Yep.
But before he goes, I
Yes.
think everybody knows Hans is leading the organization. Thursdays, tomorrow?
Tomorrow is my last working day. Last day for the town is Monday.
Yeah.
Gone on Tuesday.
So I just wanted to take a minute and
Big smile.
say thank you for everything you've done for the Beaver Boardwalk Community Oversight Committee. Prior to that, the Beaver Boardwalk Committee, everything else you do and have done for the town, including the stuff that you do that's outside of your official role in working in town administration, one of which came up tonight, which was clearing the skating oval. So there's a big question, that's a big hole that's probably going to get left, and hopefully somebody steps up, but probably won't get the care and attention that you did, but
It was for my own pleasure as well, but for sure sharing with everybody that wanted. Yes. No, thank you for acknowledging that.
so you'll be missed. I appreciate the work you did, and Best of luck in your new venture.
I'll be back and I'll enjoy what's here, for sure.
The Beaver Boardwalk.
The Beaver Boardwalk.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
If I can just add, thank you, Hans, especially for my viewpoint, I've worked a lot with him with the disc golf course. And even the first time I met him, we had a fight about the squash courts. I don't know if you remember that. But we always have good laughs while we're having good arguments. So I've always appreciated that.
Likewise, so thank you. Yeah, awesome. And I will still beat your.
Lesson.
Oh my God, it was bad. I got schooled. Thank you.
Yeah. Take it easy.
Thanks, Hans.
Yeah, thank you.
Before you go, Hans, can you grab your sticky notes from Alexa and show everyone how to prioritize? Do you have time for that? Your very last sticky note
Showing what?
exercise?
So low, your number one is your one, and then your like least priority is number five. So as your
One is super.
one is
five
number one, yeah.
Okay.
And then Hans, you
All the
want
rest
to
is
please?
not numbered, is even. Okay.
And if the numbers are facing the wall, so it's the sticky side, it's going to, it'll do the work for you. Just gotta flip it around.
Oh.
Yeah.
I cannot see it.
It's a secret.
Ooh.
So people don't know what you voted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember. He's moving. Do we really get, like, I don't know, he could be sabotaging.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But I'm out of the door and just take it off.
Just stick it on five.
Okay, in the interest of time, now that Hans has given a perfect example of how to do this, Alexa has the sticky notes for you guys. So if you want to make your way up, put your sticky notes on the wall. And then for Doug and Kevin, just send her a note with like the section and then the number beside it. So you're 1 to 5, based on what everyone said. If you'd like to change your input, just send them to her in a separate note, okay?
Just in the
Like a
chat
note in
here?
the chat or an email, what would be
In
better?
the chat is fine. Yeah.
Okay,
And you
cool.
guys can just private chat it to her, and she's town of Hinton.
Okay.
Doing an awesome job.
Get your steps in for you guys.
So,
I thank Yan for
Five
making
is
the
your
new map.
boost, one is your.
Don't know where I am
You can put it
anymore.
underneath if you'd like.
Oh, it doesn't stick on the
It
wall.
doesn't stick on the wall. Here, I have stick
Better on the
tag.
paper.
Yeah, have I thanked you for the new map, so I have no idea where I am anymore?
Sorry.
No, it's really nice.
Turn it around. Oh.
Yes, you. Yeah.
Sorry.
Like that. Thank you, Alexa.
No
Bye,
problem.
Hans.
Just moving.
Could put them up in a alphabetical order.
yeah.
I was working on a time crunch.
Understood.
I think the correct answer is whatever. Oh, what was that just? Oh, me help, it's bad.
Got 2 blank ones, is that gonna get?
So Alexa,
You should have 5 in total. Do you have 5?
I have 7.
Oh, okay, then you don't have the last 2. So you're attached.
You gotta get extra votes.
Yes.
Alexa, did you get the notes from Kevin and Doug? They sent them to you in the chat, so just save those so that we can do the tallying after the fact. Thank you.
Yes.
Hey, Alexa,
Yes.
is that for the national?
The way I started this exercise, the way
I
it
think
came.
so, that's-
Yeah. It better be.
That's the, what is like already on the list is from what I remember, that's getting done. And then,
All right.
trails systems on Muni site,
On what?
on Muni site.
I've never heard of.
That's GIS.
Oh, I don't know what to look. I would assume so, because I thought, like, the, most of the yellow stuff was just for me and mountain bikes. So, except for sections, you know, like
I don't think they are on Muni site.
like this,
I think they're on
and this, and this were part of what Hans gave me. So all of this stuff Hans gave me. So one would think that it should be on the municipal site. I don't know.
I don't think I think there's a town trails map that they're on, but the municipal map, I don't think they are. That's just the properties and stuff.
He gave me a shape file with those trails. And he's giving me a whole bunch of CSV files.
Okay, so now that those are all up on the wall,
Sometimes painful.
Alexa and I are gonna stay behind after you guys are all done. So Counselor Stachik, you can move on to the remaining items on the agenda, and then we can all take off except for me and Alexa.
I think we're almost done actually.
Yeah.
Pretty quick here. Okay, we covered off volunteer logistics, so next meeting date, I think that's kind of been decided unless there's any other input from committee. So it'll still be Wednesday, May 11th, but it will be at
5:30.
5:30, correct? Yeah. So 5:30 PM, Wednesday, May 11th. Any comments or discussion about that? Tom?
Be an update on the calendar so we can just punch it into our calendars later. Thank
Yep,
you.
so I've already sent around all the invites, so I'll just go in and update them and they should all populate right into your calendars as is.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Get well soon.
Thank you, Heather. Jan?
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
Regarding the map, I'm gonna take all the versions that I have right now because it's gonna change, but do people want it this size or they want it a little bit smaller or what? Like, I can make this and I can make 12 by, bigger, but in terms of a big map, you want it that big or you want it a little bit smaller or?
Heather?
I would really appreciate, Jan, a big one like that for my office for when I'm having to sort stuff out, and one that can fit in a binder. So even if it's like the legal size that can fold out, that would be
Yeah.
fine. Something like that.
11 by 17?
Yeah, those.
Is that what people want? Or do you want some, I don't want to get into making, like custom little for every person, but.
Anyone?
Okay,
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm actually fine with this cute little guy, but yeah, a big one would be cool too.
Big one.
okay.
All right, anything else? All right, just need a motion to adjourn. Tom,
Make motion to adjourn.
right, motion to adjourn. All those in favor? All right, we're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.